talk to me about pound levels, Stephen. 150 or not 150 by the end of the year?
Well, we think on a medium-term basis, medium to long-term, that the pound is undervalued. It got sold very aggressively after the referendum. Just looking on a purchasing power parity basis, that means that it's got to a level where it could conceivably rally. So a lot of bad news is in sterling, and if there is good news to come out of the trade talks, then I would expect to see sterling reacting relatively swiftly to that. I think another point about sterling, of course, is that actually the dollar sold off quite aggressively last year, I think down 10% on a trade-weighted basis. And that means that year-on-year sterling's actually up against the dollar, so that's going to be a slight headwind to Q1 earnings, the comparison with last year for some of these big exporters in the FTSE. But to your original point, I think that the FX markets are going to remain politically dominated. And actually, I'm quite surprised to see the euro making new highs recently because, as Tom was pointing out, there is some uncertainty about the Italian elections to come, plus you have the ECB winding back some of its extraordinary stimulus this year. So I think, the euro is not a one-way bet at this point.
Emma and Stephen, when you look at clear winners out of people moving from Brexit, do we have a capital yet? It's not Paris, it's not Luxembourg, it's not Madrid. Will we find out, or is it kind of in limbo?
George, go ahead. I would say that so far it looks like it's quite atomised. I mean, Frankfurt perhaps is in the lead, but Amsterdam has also, had a few key wins. But of course, it's going to depend on the deal. The other thing just to point out is that this year, we're talking about a deadline in October, and this is when we're going to have a sort of outline deal of the future relationship. But that outline deal won't necessarily be terribly detailed, and so it could be that even in October, banks don't have a very clear idea about the terms of the future relationship. And I think that's really important to work out. I'd be interested to know to what extent financial markets are expecting a huge amount of detail in October, and what that means, for example, for the pound.